When you upload a video and only a few people watch it, or you have some kind of live event and only a few people attend, how does that affect you? For me, that's happened to me recently. I had a live in-person workshop, and then also I've been uploading these videos every day, and not a lot of people showed up. I also taught a class. Not a lot of people came. So it's these three things, dealing with not a lot of people showing up, not a lot of people watching. Anyway, so this idea of we're doing stuff for other people, we're creating content, we're creating art, businesses, right? And not a lot of people are showing up, not getting a lot of customers, not getting a lot of views, not getting a lot of followers, etc. And the question is what to do about it and how to deal with it both externally and internally. And I think that we always focus more on the external, but really the more influential part is the internal, right? We think it's the external. We focus on the external. Okay, how do I get more views? How do I get more leads? How do I get more customers, etc., which is all important stuff. But the bigger issues are internally. First of all, what we believe about ourselves and what we're capable of. And a lot of us have what they call limiting beliefs, right? That term has been, I think, overused at this point. But they're just stories in our head that we got from childhood that we don't think we're capable or that we're worthy or that just something bad will happen. And actually, that's the bigger one, I think, is that we're afraid something bad will happen. So for me, what I uncovered through a hypnotherapy session actually was that when I was in first grade, I witnessed a kid in my class being so brutally embarrassed that he left the school and never came back. And what I got from that was that if I draw a lot of attention to myself, if a lot of people are looking at me and paying attention to me, that I'm going to get embarrassed and thrown out of the tribe, basically. I'm going to be banished because the kid left and never came back. So as a 6-year-old, I took that as, oh, he got, banished, thrown out of the tribe. So always scared to put myself in front of a lot of people. So this is going to affect how many people show up to a workshop that I do or a class that I teach or content that I post online. If I believe that bad things are going to happen if a lot of people pay attention to me, that's going to affect how I do these things. And I'm going to, not even consciously, but unintentionally create the scenario where not a lot of people will show up. And so this is what I've realized and what I've been working on for a couple of years now is letting go of that story and changing it to a positive version that bad things won't happen. If people pay attention to me, a lot of people pay attention to me, good things will happen. They'll get value, I'll get value, we'll connect, we'll build a better world together. So that's all nice and good when you say it like that, when I say it like that, but easier said than done. It doesn't, unfortunately, the subconscious mind is a powerful motherfucker. He's, 90 to 95% of our brain, of our mind, and very hard to just change the stories that are embedded in there. They're embedded deep. So it does take a lot of work, and I have been working on it. And the first thing is to identify the story, right? And so if you look at your life and see what's the thing you're trying to get, but seems to be out of your grasp, right? It seems you're trying different ways and doesn't seem to be working, right? Something's not going right or continues to not go. It's like a pattern. And so for me, I was pursuing becoming a screenwriter and a director in the Hollywood film industry in the US for many years and seemed to be just out of my grasp, right? Like I was working really hard at it, writing a lot of scripts, really developing my craft, and I would get positive signs like a producer or an executive would read a script and really respond positively and maybe send it to someone else or try to get an actor attached or something like that. And so it seemed like something might happen. They weren't just, this sucks, get out of my face. That happened too, of course. But but there was enough positive signs that like something could happen, but it didn't. And of course, if you talk to anyone in the film industry, super common. There's always a ton of scripts and projects that are somewhere in development trying to be put together and never happen. It's actually most projects never happen, but the actual movies that get made is a very small percentage of the projects that were in the system in some way, not to mention all the ones that were rejected. But the point being that somehow it's out of my grasp, and I would take a lot of action. Like I made an independent movie. I put it together myself, raised the money, put together the cast and crew, wrote it, directed it, right, produced it, and that won Best Comedy Movie at some film festivals. It was released on Amazon Prime and Apple TV. A few 100,000 people have seen it on Amazon Prime, and then it's been seen on other platforms as well, like Tubi TV. It's got a lot of views. But point being is, it's this thing that I was chasing was not in my grasp. And I think that a big part of it is this story that I was just telling you about, that if a lot of people are paying attention to me, bad things are going to happen, right? I'm going to get banished. If you become a known director or screenwriter, especially a director, because that's going to be on set with cast and crew. And I think that story played a role in keeping me from getting my goal. The point being for you is, yeah, you're probably blaming external factors and for not getting what you want, getting whatever you're pursuing. And they're valid. Those external factors you're blaming are valid. Like, they're legitimate. Those do play a factor, of course. Like I was saying about the film industry, most projects don't get made. It's not just me. So, of course, external factors played a role in that as well. What I'm saying is turn your focus to the internal, and not just that you're not good enough or you're not lucky enough. And of course, luck plays a big factor in success in anything. Luck is huge, so I'm not discounting luck. But the point is that the place to focus on is the story that is preventing you from getting what you want. You have some story that is associating what you're pursuing that you don't have with danger, pain, basically. Your body's trying to keep you safe. It's trying to avoid pain. And so whatever that thing you're pursuing, you have some story that associates that with pain. Most likely came from childhood, and most likely was overblown in childhood, but not necessarily. Obviously, people suffer some serious things in childhood, so it could be connected to that. But a lot of times it's not even what you might look back as an adult and consider to be a terrible thing. The story I told about the kid in my class, that didn't even happen to me. It happened to a different kid. I wasn't embarrassed in that class. That other kid was. I just saw it happen. But I interpreted the story that would happen to me if everyone was focused on me. So that's what I'm saying, is like, people don't always focus on the right trauma, or they don't even think they had trauma because nothing terrible happened to them. But the point is that as a kid, you interpret things incorrectly. Your viewpoint is limited. And so you form stories based on your experiences that as an adult, you wouldn't form that same experience. So looking back on your childhood, you may not even realize, what happened, that you did take that story, because from an adult's point of view, right? So point being is like, that's the key, is uncovering those stories and letting them go and changing them to a more positive and beneficial story for you. And then of course, to also do what you can to affect the external factors. Of course, can't just sit in a room and let go of the stories, but you'll be surprised how the external changes when you change the internal. And because when you change the internal, then you start behaving differently, and you just start doing different things. You start thinking differently, you start feeling differently, you give a different energy, so people respond to you differently. And so it's really worth doing the internal work. And it's just a bigger lever that you can pull than the external. It's very hard, unless you have some line to somebody who's really rich and could fund your company or something like that. In terms of like just a lever that you can pull, the internal is the bigger one that you can pull, that you can affect, that you can do. And then you do what you can in the external, and then there's luck involved, but you're going to be a much more powerful force in the world if you, I'm not going to say fix the internal because you're not broken, but just to heal the internal, really. Because really it's just a wound that you have and an incorrect story. And so changing the story, healing the wound, and then you're going to be more powerful. And so that's the main thing. And then not letting, and this is, I'm talking to myself now, about not letting low turnouts slow you down, because that happened to me this week. I was starting to slow down a little because I got discouraged because of the low turnouts that I mentioned to my workshop and my class. And the videos, less on the videos because I really wasn't expecting a lot of views just starting out, but it has an effect. But I would say the class and the workshop were the bigger ones that kind of, I felt a little slowed down, discouraged. Should I keep doing this? And so I'm talking to myself right now about, first of all, you never know. A lot of relationships that end up being like the biggest influence on success are with one person. Like one person is the key to it. It's not a huge group of people, right? So you never know. In other words, if a few people are showing up, a few people are watching your content, you never know that somebody could be an influential figure in your life and your success. And then furthermore, if you give people a lot of value, even if it's a small number of people, they will tell other people. Word of mouth, as they like to call it, is real. But it only happens if people get a lot of value. And so instead of being discouraged when only a few people show up, and I'm talking to myself, give the people that do show up, or the person that shows up, if it's one person, give them as much value as you can, and that will lead to word of mouth, and that will lead to more people showing up. And the same with online content. If you're giving value, word will spread. So it might not happen overnight, though. That's the hard part, is you might knock it out of the park in one session, and the people that happen to be there either tell someone that doesn't end up coming or whatever happens. But the key is to keep doing it. Keep giving as much value as you can to as many people as you can, even if it's one at a time, and then word will spread. And it's the same thing when starting a business, is people are spending, and I run, one of the workshop that I mentioned that I run here weekly is for entrepreneurs and artists and any creators, but there's a lot of entrepreneurs. And I see them, they're spending a lot of time on like their logo and their website and all this stuff and their strategy and branding and all that. And yeah, in the long run, that stuff is important. But right now, no one knows how good they are at their service. They're not actually doing it for anyone. And the key, what I tell them is find a way to start doing your service, even if it's for free, for people, because you need to be giving value to people. Otherwise, all this logo, website can be as branding, it can be as beautiful as anything. It's not going to do anything. What's going to do something is people getting value from you, and then them either telling other people, or you're using their testimonials or case studies to attract other people. But that's the main thing, is giving value to other people. That's what people are going to spend money on if they see that or hear that you've given value to other people. Wrapping this up now with, do the internal work, change the stories. Don't get discouraged if only a few people show up. Just give as much value as you can, and keep giving value to people directly, even if it's for free. That's the whole thing, is you got to keep giving value to other people, and then that will attract more people, and that will attract money, etc., etc. Keep going. Me too. And I'll see you in the next video.